a child who struggled with severe stuttering, enduring mockery from classmates, would grow up to become one of the world's most beloved comedic performers. Yet behind the wordless brilliance of his most famous creation, Rowan Atkinson lived with a reality few understood. His speech impediment disappeared only during performances, returning each time the cameras stopped rolling. Every production left him emotionally depleted. Every moment of laughter extracted a personal toll. Now in his 70s, Atkinson is opening up about truths he's carried privately for decades, the struggles behind his success, the burden of his iconic character, and the disconnect he's always felt between public perception and private reality. Early years and the stutter. Born January 6, 1955 in Consett, County Durham, Rowan Sebastian Atkinson arrived as the youngest of 4 boys. Family tragedy touched his life early. His eldest brother Paul passed away in infancy, leaving Rowan with 2 surviving siblings, including Rodney, who would later pursue economics and political involvement. The family farm provided a structured, quiet upbringing, vastly different from the absurd, chaotic personas he would eventually embody. Around age 5, Rowan developed a pronounced stutter that made verbal communication difficult and school life painful. At Durham Chorister's School, he endured relentless bullying. Educators recalled a reserved child with remarkable facial expressiveness, but significant speech challenges. Fellow students were crueler, ridiculing him mercilessly and calling him extraterrestrial. Among those schoolmates was a young Tony Blair, who later acknowledged how brutal the teasing could be. Yet something extraordinary occurred. Whenever Rowan performed on stage, his stutter completely vanished. Performance unlocked confidence unavailable elsewhere, transforming his greatest obstacle into the bedrock of future success. Academic excellence and unexpected path. Despite social difficulties, Rowan excelled academically. He achieved outstanding science marks and pursued electrical and electronic engineering at Newcastle University, graduating in 1975. Everyone anticipated an engineering career, not entertainment. He continued at Queen's College, Oxford, working toward a master's degree and beginning doctoral research, though he ultimately abandoned the PhD. His professor noted he didn't particularly stand out in lectures, but on stage, he underwent complete transformation. Oxford proved pivotal. Rowan joined the Drama Society and a review group called the ETC, where he encountered writer Richard Curtis. Curtis remembered observing a reserved, unremarkable Rowan during rehearsals, until he performed. His sketches, including a notable driving routine and synchronized mime speech piece, astonished everyone. In 1976, Rowan performed with the Oxford Review at Edinburgh Festival Fringe, his first major national platform. Audiences responded enthusiastically, and the engineer, who once hid in classroom corners, suddenly understood where he belonged. Even while completing his master's degree and publishing his thesis in 1978, the pull toward comedy intensified. Engineering remained an interest. He would later become an early adopter of hybrid and electric vehicles. But his passion had shifted. The stage had become home. Breaking through. Rowan's initial breakthrough arrived in 1979 with a BBC Radio 3 series called The Atkinson People, featuring him as numerous eccentric fictional personalities. Richard Curtis contributed writing, Griff Rhys-Jones produced, and critics praised Rowan's originality, though almost nobody heard it, airing in a traditionally unsuccessful comedy slot. Nevertheless, it demonstrated something crucial. Rowan possessed rare, unmistakable talent ready to emerge. Between 1978 and 1979, circumstances were challenging. The BBC rejected him repeatedly. Executives didn't comprehend his comedic style, and Rowan grew discouraged. His stutter, particularly severe during interviews and auditions, compounded difficulties. He contemplated abandoning performance entirely and returning to engineering. Then he recognized a pattern. When performing as a character, the stutter disappeared. This realization proved transformative. He understood he didn't need to speak flawlessly as himself. The characters could handle communication. During this difficult period, he collaborated closely with friends like Angus Deaton, whom he'd met at Oxford. Angus frequently played the straight man in their radio sketches, providing perfect setup for Rowan's unusual physical, near-silent comedy. This partnership allowed growth without camera pressure, while television doors remained closed. In 1979, Rowan returned to Edinburgh Fringe at age 24, even helping construct the stage for the new Wireworks Theatre. His show was unconventional, mostly silent, inspired by classic Buster Keaton films. Some audience members departed, but others recognized pure brilliance. His expressive face and physical control were unprecedented. That performance attracted the right producer's attention. Television breakthrough. By 1980, Rowan attempted television again. His pilot Canned Laughter, which aired in 1979, featured an early version of a character who would eventually become Mr. Bean. The show wasn't picked up and auditions remained stressful. His stutter often returned when appearing as himself, but he increasingly understood how to overcome it. Complete disappearance into characters. Then in 1980, the BBC finally took a chance with Not the 9 O'Clock News. The show's launch was delayed by a general election, and when it finally aired, viewership was minimal. Critics panned it harshly, one calling it television's worst half-hour ever produced. But the BBC controller believed in it and ordered a second series anyway. That single decision transformed Rowan's life. He worked alongside Pamela Stephenson, Mel Smith, and Griff Rhys-Jones, joining a team that would reshape British comedy. Behind the scenes, tensions ran high. After the first series, Chris Langham was fired, and Rowan unsuccessfully fought for him. Budget cuts followed, making production increasingly difficult. But during this period, Rowan's focus, perfectionism, and distinctive style began shining through. Everything changed with one sketch, Gerald the Gorilla. Rowan, in a gorilla suit, delivered a furious, brilliantly absurd outburst that instantly became iconic. The sketch achieved viral status in a pre-internet world, winning awards and making Rowan a national sensation. Scientists even jokingly began referring to groups of baboons as a flange, as the sketch suggested. This success set the stage for everything that followed. Unexpected success and burnout. In 1981, Rowan experienced an unexpected career development. Not the 9 O'Clock News released a comedy song called I Like Trucking for the album Hedgehog Sandwich, which became a surprise hit. Audiences loved it partly because Rowan wasn't merely acting. He actually drove the truck in the sketch himself, thanks to his genuine Class 1 lorry license. The song charted and appeared on BBC compilations, proving Rowan wasn't limited to sketches, but could perform across formats. By 1982, however, the shine had faded. The show ended not from low ratings, but because the cast was simply exhausted. The relentless pace, constant writing pressure, and emotional strain had pushed everyone to breaking points, especially Rowan, whose anxiety always lurked beneath the surface. Rather than chase more fame, they walked away at their peak. Pamela Stephenson left for Hollywood. Rowan went straight into the Blackadder. Mel Smith and Griff Rhys-Jones built their own series. It was a rare television moment. Stars choosing well-being over financial gain. The Blackadder Evolution. Rowan's next gamble, The Blackadder, premiered June 15, 1983. He co-created it with Richard Curtis, imagining alternate history where Richard III survived. Rowan starred as scheming Prince Edmund, filmed on massive sets at Alnwick Castle. Production was expensive, plagued by poor weather, and nearly cancelled due to enormous budget. Critics were lukewarm. Only one thing saved it, the International Emmy it won. That award convinced the BBC to try again, but with strict budget cuts and simpler format. Those changes transformed everything. By 1986, Blackadder 2 premiered with a new tone. Ben Elton joined the writing team, bringing sharper comedy and tighter pacing. The cast changed too. Miranda Richardson's unhinged Queenie became an instant fan favorite, and guest stars like Tom Baker stole scenes with unforgettable performances. Edmund evolved into a razor-tongued schemer, while Baldrick shifted into the dim-witted sidekick everyone adored. Initially, critics complained, but audiences quickly realized this version was superior. The humor was smarter, the characters richer, and the chemistry electric. Blackadder had finally found its identity. Blackadder goes forth. Blackadder Goes Forth arrived in 1989 and became something unexpected. Set in World War I trenches, the final season blended comedy with sharp, emotional examination of war's futility. Rowan played Captain Blackadder alongside Hugh Laurie's upbeat Lieutenant George and Tony Robinson's lovable Baldric. Despite initial fears that joking about World War I would be offensive, the series struck a powerful balance. It won the 1990 BAFTA for Best Comedy Series. Rowan won Best Light Entertainment Performance, and in later polls, it ranked among Britain's greatest sitcoms. Second place in a 2004 BBC survey, with over 280,000 votes. The finale, where characters charge into no man's land in slow motion, became one of television history's most haunting endings. Behind the scenes, the cast worked with unusual warmth and trust. Rowan, Hugh Laurie, and Stephen Fry often improvised, relying on chemistry Rowan later said could never be recreated. For him, this was the least stressful project of his career. Everyone carried the weight together. Mr. Bean, global success, personal struggle. Then came Mr. Bean. The first episode aired January 1st, 1990, drawing 13.45 million viewers. Rowan had created the character years earlier at Oxford, building a near-silent figure whose comedy worked in every country. It exploded globally, sold in 245 nations, with episodes reaching nearly 19 million UK viewers. But while the world laughed, Rowan suffered. He admitted finding Mr. Bean emotionally exhausting. Because the character barely spoke, he had to rely entirely on physical performance, pushing his face and body to extremes. The strain left him drained after every shoot, and he often looked forward to filming ending. For Rowan, playing Mr. Bean wasn't joy, it was pressure. Still, the franchise grew. In 1997, the Bean film earned over $251 million worldwide, breaking UK records before its US premiere. But success only made Rowan more tired of carrying the character. In 2002, he found relief through the animated series. Voicing the character was far easier, and the cartoon kept the franchise alive without harming his health. It flourished with younger audiences and continued producing new episodes into 2024. In 2012, Rowan returned for one final major appearance as Mr. Bean at the London Olympics. Nearly 27 million watched in the UK and 900 million worldwide. It became one of the night's most viral moments, but the physical performance left Rowan exhausted for weeks. Many fans now recognize that moment as Mr. Bean's true farewell. Personal life. Rowan met Sunetra Sastry in the late 1980s while she worked as a makeup artist on Blackadder. He even switched makeup artists to get the chance to speak with her, something that reportedly disappointed Stephen Fry, who had hoped to ask her out himself. Rowan and Sunetra married February 5, 1990, in New York with Fry as best man. They had 2 children, Lily in 1993 and Benjamin in 1995. For nearly 24 years, the marriage appeared solid. But in 2014, everything fell apart. Rowan and Sunetra separated, and their divorce was finalized in 2015. Around the same time, Rowan quietly began seeing actress Louise Ford, 27 years younger, which triggered headlines and left Sunetra devastated. Louise had left her boyfriend, comedian James Acaster, to be with Rowan, adding fuel to the scandal. In 2017, she and Rowan welcomed their daughter Isla, making him a father again at 62. Life-defining moments. One of the most dramatic moments of Rowan's life came in 2001, while flying with his family over Kenya. Their private pilot fainted mid-flight. Rowan, who had no flight training, grabbed the controls and kept the plane steady until the pilot revived and safely landed in Nairobi. It was a rare glimpse of real-life calm and courage from a man famous for chaos and slapstick. Rowan surprised many in 2012 when he delivered a speech in Parliament defending freedom of speech. He argued that too many things were labeled offensive and that law should protect challenging ideas, not silence them. The clip went viral, and although some activists criticized him for defending what they considered harmful speech, the law was eventually changed. Years later, Rowan sparked another firestorm. In June 2023, He wrote an article saying electric vehicles weren't as environmentally friendly as believed and actually produced far more emissions during manufacturing. The piece was heavily criticized by scientists, especially after it emerged that Rowan owned an extensive supercar collection. Lawmakers even argued that his article contributed to declining EV sales across the UK. Other notable work. When Disney offered him the role of Zazu in The Lion King, 1994, Rowan didn't want to do it, but accepted anyway. His performance became unforgettable, and the film made $968 million worldwide. Fans missed him when he didn't return for the 2019 remake. In later interviews, Rowan admitted how difficult the Mr. Bean character had been for him. In 2018 on The Graham Norton Show, he said filming was emotionally exhausting and that he constantly felt he wasn't good enough. For years, he's gone back and forth on whether he'll ever play Bean again, saying in 2012 he wanted to retire the character, later saying he wouldn't, and eventually admitting Bean was unlikely to return. But never say never. In 2022, at age 67, he starred in Man vs. Bee, a return to physical comedy. Though short and silly, the series reminded him and audiences just how demanding slapstick had become on his aging body.